Judge, do you want to have Tim go into a breakout room with him so he can go over it with him?
Well, let's go on the premises and then we can do that. As we indicated, Mr. Roach, your lawyer, Mr. George, was scheduled to be here on another matter. So we thought we would address this while he was here, but he didn't have a lot of notice. I'm going to set out the details of what we're doing and then we can set it up so you can speak with him privately. All right, let's go on the record. This is file number 23319FY. Mr. Kyle William Roach. He is charged with possession of methamphetamine and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. Mr. Timothy George was appointed to represent him. Back in March, there was a petition for an evaluation for competency for Mr. Roach at the Center for Forensic Psychiatry. I believe that was signed by Judge Pattison. And the matter's been somewhat on hold. It was actually set for a prelim today, 6/6, pending the return of the forensic report, which has not been done. Yesterday, the prosecutor filed a petition for emergency bond violation, alleging a number of violations of the conditions of Mr. Roach's bond, not the least of which is attempting to purchase firearms on a CROSSBOW. I signed an emergency petition for revocation of the bond or a violation of the bond, and Mr. Roach was arrested yesterday. They then executed a search warrant at his house, and I believe there are other charges coming regarding that search warrant. In addition, I've received 2 petitions for personal protection orders from 2 private citizens against Mr. Roach, which I have yet had a chance to review. We did call the Center for Forensic Psychiatry this morning to find out the status of Mr. Roach's psychiatric evaluation for competency. They advised they hadn't scheduled it. Our staff informed them that Mr. Roach was in custody at this time, and they indicated they could do the psychiatric evaluation on Monday, June 12th, which is next Monday. So this is an arraignment on a bench warrant, on a bond violation bench warrant. Let me go back to it.
And Your Honor, we did file a complaint today that he'll probably be arraigned on this afternoon.
All right, and what is filed in that? What's the charge?
In that one, it's count 1 is possession with the intent to deliver methamphetamine. Count 2 is possession of methamphetamine. Count 3 is maintaining a drug house. There may be additional charges after labs come back on some other substances.
I spoke to the magistrate before lunch. I didn't have those charges yet, and I was left it that she would be arraigning him on those new charges. So on the instant case, Mr. Roach, you posted $1,000 cash bond. There were conditions on your bond. I can find it. That you not use or consume alcohol at any time, not submit to any drugs, not take any drugs. You were to test at the day reporting center as a condition of the bond, and you never reported. Nothing was done. You failed to report on April 26th. On March 7th, we signed the order for forensic evaluation, and there was never any other testing. You're also not to possess any firearms or any other dangerous weapons or reside where they are present. Also, no assaultive or threatening behavior. The petition that the defendant filed, or the people filed, alleged that on May 24th, you attempted to burn a vehicle belonging to John Crone by pouring gasoline all over it and throwing a lit object toward the vehicle. There's apparently surveillance of that. Apparently, I haven't charged that yet, but Mr. Crone has asked for a personal protection order. It's further alleged that you went to Dunham Sporting Goods on May 27th and attempted to buy firearms, which they wouldn't sell you, thankfully. But that you purchased a high-powered bone collector's 370 crossbow with bolts and fixed blade broadheads, and it's an ugly-looking apparatus that they filed a picture of. So I signed the immediate warrant for your arrest for pickup for violating the conditions of your bond. No assaultive or threatening behavior. And it's alleged that you burned your neighbor's car.
That's not,
And
it's
excuse me,
not
what's
as,
that?
it's not his neighbor, but
Oh, it says employer.
friend, acquaintance,
All right.
former employer.
And bought this crossbow and these broadhead arrows. So the matter is pending a preliminary examination, theoretically today, but we can't do the preliminary examination without the competency evaluation. Now, fortunately, they can do the competency evaluation as early as Monday. You've got 2 pending PPOs that are going to be reviewed, and you've got new serious felony charges. My inclination, Mr. George, is to cancel his bond at this point under the belief that he's currently a threat to the public. And the matter could be reviewed either at the time we get the competency report or have further testimony. Would you wish to speak privately with your client?
Yes, Your Honor.
Laura, could you open the room? Mr. Roach, I'm proposing to cancel your bond on this case while we pursue everything else that's going on. Your lawyer's going to talk to you for a moment, and we may need to set further hearing on this bond violation.
Step out while you talk to your lawyer.
The officer just stepped out. I'm going to open a breakout room, hopefully, and put you both in it. Thank you, Laura. As I indicated, Mr. Roach, this all happened on fairly short time frame, and Mr. George has been busy all day. This was the soonest we could set it. But I'm going to let you speak with him. Click the button that says join. I guess you automatically join.
Finalizing.
I think you sent it to me, Your Honor. It must have switched, so I just rejected it.
No, it's, oh, wait a minute. I don't want you to be in there. All right, oops. Tim, go ahead and join it. There we go.
I'll just be waiting.
All right, we'll sit here and wait. It's gonna take 39 seconds to close that room. I think I turned it back on. 24 seconds. I'm gonna have to study those PPOs, Deborah. I had a hard time reading the handwriting.
I was not aware that any were filed until you said that, so.
Just before lunch, we were notified of those and Laura printed them out for me.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Roach, we returned to the record. We are here on a arraignment on a bench warrant for a bond violation in a methamphetamine felony firearm case involving Kyle William Roach. There are allegations that he violated the bond contained in a petition filed by the prosecutor yesterday. He's not been found to be guilty of that. He is entitled to have a hearing regarding the bond violation, or it must be established beyond a preponderance that he violated the bond. The problem is he has a new case pending. He is also pending a forensic evaluation for competency. And any admissions he makes regarding the violation of the bond could also be admissions to other charges. Mr. George has had an opportunity to speak with them. Mr. George, what's your position?
Thank you, Your Honor. And as the court knows, I was kind of brought into this late, so I'm working with the information as best I possibly can. I think the situation is twofold. One, as the court said, we're pending a competency evaluation, so that always causes concern to me, and limits my ability to move forward on this while we're pending that, and I understand that. Also, as the court said, some of the proposed basis for the bond violations are new felony charges that he's going to be arraigned on. So I'd like to have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Roach and talk to him about what's going on here and see how we move forward. I know that there has been a forensic evaluation that's been scheduled for next Monday. It's going to be important, not only in this case, but in the new case, that gets done in a timely manner. But we would ask the court to reset this hearing as soon as possible, hopefully early next week. It'll allow me time to speak with Mr. Roach. He'll get arraigned on his new charges. Hopefully have the forensic evaluation completed. We won't have the report back. And then, we can proceed forward on this petition from the prosecutor.
I think that's probably prudent. In the meantime, I am going to cancel the bond. There's a big public safety concern in this matter. There are new charges pending. He's entitled to have a hearing on this. I just set you for June 14th at 11. How about if we go for June 14th at 10?
That morning's clear for me. Your Honor.
Does that work for you, Deborah?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Roach, I would like you to cooperate with the forensic examiners who are going to meet with you on Monday. We got to work out the details of what time that's going to be. They will connect you by Zoom from the jail. But we need to get that process started. We'll have a further hearing on this on June 14th, which is next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Your bond is canceled until that time. Thank you both for agreeing to do this on short notice. All right, Mr. Roach. Mr. George has probably got to come out to the jail and meet with you, but I would want you to cooperate with the forensic people on Monday.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Tim. Good morning. This is a special bond violation hearing in the matter of Kyle William Roach. The file number is 23319FY. Mr. Roach is charged in the instant case with possession of methamphetamine and possession of a firearm by a felon. He's represented by attorney Tim George, who is present here with him in the courtroom. Also present is Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Deborah Davis. Last week, I'll get my date straight. The prosecution filed an emergency petition for revocation of the bond in this case, alleging several violations, which we'll address in a minute. The defendant also has a new case, which is file number 231037, which charges delivery of manufacture of methamphetamine, possession of methamphetamine, and maintaining a drug house. That is set for a pre-exam conference, I believe, next Tuesday, June 20th. To further complicate things, there's a petition for competency in the instant case that was quite delayed. Once we informed the forensic center that the defendant was in custody, they expedited that evaluation, and Mr. George, it was done yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for cooperating, Mr. Roach. Okay, 613. No report yet. So we don't have an official determination that the defendant is competent. Bond in the new case is set in the amount of $70,000 cash or surety. I read the ex parte motion filed by Ms. Davis last week, and there were a number of troubling allegations. One, apparently the defendant had never tested, but that I don't think was his fault. He never was asked to test. But there's evidence or some allegation that the defendant was arguing with some former employer and poured gasoline all over his vehicle and tried to set it on fire. And the state police were reviewing that, have not yet submitted that for a warrant, but there's apparently a video of that transaction. The prosecutor then reports, and this is one of the allegations of your bond violation, that you went into the Dunham's sporting goods store on May 27th and attempted to purchase a gun, which would be in violation of both your, or in violation of your bond conditions. I believe there may also be a PPO in effect.
Yes, sir.
So then you purchased a high power bone collector 370 CROSSBOW with bolts and fixed blade broadheads. And it was a condition of your bond that you not possess any dangerous weapons or reside where they're present. So based on the prosecutor's concern of public safety, I issued a bench warrant for your arrest and set it for immediate hearing. That was, I think, on the 6th last. No, it was on the 7th, I think, last Wednesday. You'd been charged with the new case. We didn't know the answer for the forensic examination. there's a question about whether the state police are gonna submit this attempted arson of a car. And in the meantime, there's this ugly looking bone collector 370 crossbow that was in your possession. So what we did is reset this hearing regarding the bond violations for today. A bond violation has a lower standard than a criminal conviction. In a criminal conviction, you have to be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. In a bond violation, it's a matter of preponderance to believe there was a violation of the bond. Mr. George is somewhat hamstrung by the fact that there's been a petition for a competency evaluation, and we don't know the answer to that yet. To your credit, you did cooperate with the evaluation yesterday, but sometimes it takes weeks to get the report. They've got to gather information. You've been hospitalized in Indiana. They need to gather all that. And in the current world we live in, sometimes, in fact, often, it's hard to tell how much is mental illness and how much is the effects of methamphetamine. So having all that set out, Ms. Davis, what's the prosecutor's current position?
Your Honor, the people had asked that the bond remain revoked at this point. After the court signed the ex parte order and it was executed, Mr. Roach was arrested in a vehicle stop, but then a search warrant was executed on his home, hoping to find the crossbow that was not in his vehicle with him. During the search of that, it's alleged that in addition to the crossbow, that there was ammunition. There was also lines of methamphetamine that field tested positive for methamphetamine that were cut and ready to be used. I believe they were in his bedroom, plus packaging materials, a large amount of small baggies that are typically used in narcotics distribution, among other items of drug paraphernalia. So, and drugs themselves. The testing provisions were not just a test upon demand, but originally when he was released on bond in February, it was part of his bond that he was required to report immediately to Day Reporting Center and begin a scheduled testing, a random scheduling, and he failed to do so. We were not aware that that had not been occurring. I was under the impression that since he was out on bond and I hadn't heard anything, usually no news is good news as far as testing goes. Unfortunately, when I contacted DRC, when this new issue came up with the weapon purchase, I was informed that DRC had reported only to the court's email that Mr. Roach had failed to appear back at the end of February, and as such had not been testing. So with the finding of the alleged methamphetamine and other large amounts of drugs in his home, his erratic behavior, the purchase of the weapon, the mental health concerns awaiting the competency, we have strong concerns that he's not safe to be on his own in the public. So we would ask that the bond remain revoked at this time.
You didn't mention the PPO that had been obtained by the Crones, the people who allegedly poured gasoline all over their car and was going to set their car on fire.
And Your Honor, I have not seen those PPOs. That is something that is filed through the court, but is not through the prosecutor's office unless there is a violation. So I have not received those. I can certainly request copies of them. I guess I'd be curious to see what the affidavit.
I authorized them, so we can refer to those also.
Thank you. So with all of that in mind, I think the safest place for Mr. Roach and for the public is for him to be in custody, awaiting the results of that competency evaluation, and then we can reevaluate. Thank you.
Mr. George.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think the court did a nice job of summarizing kind of the duality of the issues here. First, it goes without saying, we are waiting the competency evaluation, as the court knows, and I'm sure the prosecutors is aware as well. That could be a week or weeks. We just have no idea what the time frame is of that situation. When we take a look at the allegations in the petition, Obviously we are a little bit hamstrung with dealing with these because there has been no determination as it relates to my client's competency. However, I think it is important to note that just about all of them, I know there are a couple that, specifically to the weapons allegations, but most of these have been addressed with either some type of PPO. I think there are two that are issued as part of the allegations in here. There are additional charges that have been authorized. Mr. Roach has a bond set in that case. So I assume that the magistrate was aware of the circumstances that came into play when the bond was set in that case. There's also another investigation as it relates to another allegation in here. So the vast majority of the motion to the revoke bond in this case is being addressed through other means in this court. And I think that because that is taking place, I did have a conversation with my client yesterday. He was advised again that if the court were to set bond and he was released, that he is required to test at the day reporting center. I also talked to him because of some of the safety concerns that have been brought forth through the prosecutor's motion and in conversations with the prosecutor. I know it's a little bit unusual, but the idea of having some type of tether or electronic monitoring device as part of a pretrial release for my client, I did speak with him about that. He does not have any objection to that. So I do think that there are things that the court can do in order to assure the safety of the public and any type of complaining witness or interested parties in these cases. So, based on the nature and the severity of the allegations, I understand the court's not going to be inclined to just simply reinstate my client's bond. But because we have the question mark relating to the competency evaluation, how long that's going to be, we would ask the court to reset a bond, at least give my client the opportunity to meet that bond. And if he is not able to meet it, then we can, address that further down the road as the cases move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, Ms. Davis?
Just wanted to clarify that a PPO is simply a piece of paper. It relies on the person against whom the PPO is issued to abide by the court's orders. And Mr. Roach has shown that he is not able or willing to abide by the court's orders that have been put forth in the PPO, nor the bond conditions on a very serious felony charge, and has now new serious felony charges. This isn't simply an issue of an addict that is, needs treatment or something like that. There's aggressive assaultive behavior that is mixed with that, and potentially mental illness mixed with that. And it could be a very dangerous and deadly combination if we don't address it and keep the public safe. Certainly the people that have applied for PPOs and the PPO that is currently against him by another individual, they have strong concerns about themselves and their families being the target of Mr. Roach until we can get a handle on his mental health and his drug use. Thank you.
The original charge is alleged to have occurred in March of 2023. The bond was posted on, February of 2023. The bond was posted in February, set by the magistrate. Testing, defendant must report to the day reporting center on the very next business day upon release from custody. Testing at least one time per week. Must not consume alcohol at any time or use any controlled substances except directed by a doctor. Must not violate any of the terms of a personal protection order. No weapons. Must not possess any firearms or dangerous weapons or reside where they are present. That was a condition that he signed on February 24th. As Ms. Davis has stated, he never showed up at the day reporting center on the day after his release, so testing was never implemented, so he never tested. From the new evidence alleged by Ms. Davis, he's got methamphetamine at his house, set up, ready for use, packaging material. which tend to indicate he was violating that condition. There was a PPO in effect in another matter, and now 2 more people have requested and received personal protection orders to keep them away from Mr. Roach. And those petitions are concerning. And also concerning is this attempt that's alleged in the petition to purchase a firearm. Doesn't say anything about ammunition in the bond condition, but he tried to buy a gun, and kudos to the people at Dunham's that wouldn't sell him one. But they didn't have any choice but to sell him this crossbow and these broadhead arrows, which violate condition 8 of the bond. The defendant has been in jail now for about a week, which is a good start on getting his brain straightened out. And as I stated, I can't tell how much of this is methamphetamine and how much is mental illness. But this is a public safety issue. And to set a bond, the bond in the new case is $70,000. Don't know whether he has the ability to post it. As Ms. Davis indicated, PPOs, the bond conditions are simply pieces of paper that says don't do this or there will be a consequence. That's not much solace to someone that is injured or killed in violation of such bond condition or PPO. So it'd be disingenuous to set a bond, $1 million, $2 million, 250,000, the number sort of is irrelevant. The point is, as a matter of public safety, you should be in custody, at least till we get a handle on competency and all the charges that are going to be filed. We have this one, we have the new one from the date of your arrest, we have the pending one, which has to do with the behavior involving the other complainants. For all of those reasons, I am going to leave the bond as denied. The next theoretic court date is June 20th, but we won't have the forensic report by that date. Let's find a date where you're on duty, Mr. George. It was not even on their radar until he got arrested. And then they were very responsive in setting it on very short notice. Mr. George, your next duty week appears to be July 10th, the week of July 10th. So I would propose we continue this pre-exam until July 11th. Does that work for you?
For both cases, set them on the same day?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Roach, the longer you're in custody, I think the longer we're going to get back to where Kyle Roach is. But this is a matter of public safety, and the more time you're away from methamphetamine, the more your brain will return to some sort of normal. So you're not going anywhere. The next hearing will be July 11th. At that time, we'll hopefully have a report on the forensic evaluation. We'll know whether there are going to be additional charges. And maybe we can deal with everything all at once. But for reasons of public safety, this motion is denied. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor.
As soon as the complaining witness comes in, Mr. Bloyd, we can do that one.
I'm going to double check. I got an email from Marissa that was forwarded from the victim, so I don't know if that means that she's not attending and just wanted me to use the email. So I will
do an order. Right, what we just did.
Thank you, Your Honor.